Welcome to the debate. Today, we're intentionally slowing things down a little. We are stepping away from the loud, contentious arguments of the wider world to enter a space that is a little calmer, a little cozier, and maybe a little more complex than it first appears. We are presenting this discussion in collaboration with the channel Fluent Mindcast, and we hope it can serve as a kind of listening guide for those of you who, you know the vocabulary of English, but sometimes feel a little lost in the feeling of it.
It's a real pleasure to be here, and I think that distinction you just made between knowing the vocabulary and knowing the feeling, that's exactly where we are going to live today. We are not talking about big, complicated academic words. We're talking about the smallest, simplest words in English and the hidden emotional weight they can carry.
Precisely. The central tension we're exploring today is really the gap between the literal meaning, what you find in a dictionary, and the emotional context, or what a native speaker actually means when they use a phrase. I'm approaching this from the perspective of let's say, the advocate for clarity. I represent the learner who values precision. When I see a word, I want it to mean what it says. To me, language should be a clear exchange of data.
And I'm here to represent the hidden code. I want to defend the nuance, the need for social softness, and the reason why a simple word can and often must hide a complex emotion. I'm arguing that the ambiguity isn't a flaw, it's a social necessity.
It's a fascinating area because for a learner, it can be incredibly frustrating. You learn that fine means good. You learn that interesting means engaging. But then you get into a real conversation and those definitions just seem to dissolve.
They don't dissolve, they just they expand into something more human. But before we dive in, I really want to invite our listeners to treat this differently than a normal fast-paced show. We're going to introduce one idea at a time. We want you to listen between the lines. And if you feel confused by these subtleties, just take a breath. That confusion is completely normal. English relies so heavily on shared emotional context, not just grammar.
Okay, let's start with the deception of short responses. I want to talk about words like okay, fine, or sure. Now, from my standpoint as a literalist, these are positive affirmative words. If I ask you, how are you, and you say, I'm fine, the dictionary tells me you're in a state of well-being. It's a factual statement of condition. It's data.
If only it were that simple. You see, I just don't buy that I'm fine is merely a status update. In the emotional landscape of English, especially in a spoken conversation, I'm fine is rarely about accurate reporting. It's about setting a boundary. The meaning is almost entirely dependent on the tone, the timing, and of course the context.
But if the word implies good, or at least satisfactory, why would it be used to set a boundary? It seems contradictory.
Because it's safe. I'm fine can signal peace and acceptance, yes, but think about how often it signals exhaustion or quiet sadness. When a native speaker says, I'm fine with a flat tone, they aren't telling you how they feel. They are telling you that they don't have the energy to discuss how they feel. They are softening the emotion to avoid a heavy conversation.
So you're saying the brevity itself is the message, that by choosing a short, nondescript word, the speaker is actually closing the door.
Exactly. It's a shield. Imagine the difference in tone. If I say, with a bright, high melody, I'm fine, well, that means one thing. It matches the dictionary.
Right.
But if I drop my pitch and I look at the floor and I say, I'm fine, the dictionary definition is, well, it's irrelevant. The emotional code is saying, please don't ask more. I am barely holding it together.
That's so difficult for a learner who is listening for keywords. They hear fine and they think success. They miss the distress signal because the data, the word itself, was positive.
And that is why listening to the music of the sentence is more important than the lyrics. I would encourage our listeners to maybe just close their eyes for a moment and imagine that flat tone. I'm fine. It's a polite command to back away.
Okay, let's move to another area where this disconnect happens, perhaps even more deceptively. The art of polite distance. I'm thinking of phrases like, I'll think about it, or we'll see. Now, as a logical person, I'll think about it sounds like a promise. It implies a process of reflection will happen and an answer will follow.
I see why you'd think that, and technically, logically, you're right. But culturally, you're missing the massive discomfort English speakers have with the word no.
So it's a lie?
It's not a lie, it's a cushion. I'll think about it is a tool for polite distance. It's used to avoid immediate conflict or, the disappointment of the other person. If I invite you to a party or you pitch me a business idea and I just say no, that feels sharp. It feels like a rejection of you as a person. But if I say, I'll check my calendar, I'll think about it, I am refusing the event without rejecting the friendship.
But consider the listener's perspective. That leaves them waiting. I might wait for days for that follow-up. I've put a placeholder in my mental calendar because you said you would think about it.
And that is the tragedy of the literal learner. You're waiting for a data point that, it isn't coming. In reality, you understood the words, but you missed the social code. The silence is the answer. It allows the speaker to refuse without slamming the door. It prioritizes the relationship over the efficiency of the answer.
I suppose that applies to will see as well. To me, will see sounds flexible. It sounds friendly, like there's a possibility. It suggests the future is, unwritten.
It's uncertainty made gentle. This is incredibly common in parenting or in the workplace. A child asks for a toy, the parent says, "We'll see." It isn't a yes. It's often a way to postpone the decision, to buy time, or to avoid a temper tantrum right there in the grocery store.
It seems so inefficient. If the answer is likely no, why not just say no? Why delay the inevitable?
Because human relationships are fragile. We'll see creates a buffer. It keeps options open. It is a cultural preference for not making firm commitments too quickly. It manages volatility. I'd encourage our listeners right now to just imagine saying that phrase, "we'll see." Notice how it feels. It doesn't commit to anything. It just floats. It's non-committal, yet polite. That's a very specific English flavor.
It floats. I like that description. Even if the ambiguity frustrates me, it suggests a lack of solid ground. Let's look at another category that confuses people. Soft agreement and validation. Specifically the phrase, "that makes sense."
A classic. A staple of every office meeting in the English-speaking world.
To me, this is the gold standard of logical agreement. If I present an argument to you and you say, "that makes sense," you're confirming that my logic is sound. You're agreeing with my conclusion. I've won the debate.
Okay, I have to stop you there. Because that can be a really dangerous assumption to make. That makes sense is not necessarily logical agreement. It's emotional validation.
What's the difference?
A huge difference. I can completely disagree with your conclusion, but still say that makes sense to show that I understand how you got there. It's a bridge. It validates you as a person. It says, I respect your thought process, even if I think you're wrong. It's used constantly in therapy and conflict resolution to lower tension.
So it's a way to keep the conversation safe?
Precisely. It creates connection without demanding commitment. You feel heard, and I don't have to start a fight. It's a social tool disguised as a logical sentence. If I just said, I disagree, you would become defensive. By saying that makes sense, I'm lowering your defenses before I introduce my counterpoint.
That is a crucial distinction. It's strategic empathy. What about the phrase, "that's fair"? I hear this often in negotiations or when making plans. "That's fair" implies justice. It implies things are balanced.
It does imply balance, but emotionally, that's fair is usually a stop sign. It often marks the end of a discussion.
How so?
When someone says that's fair, they're often signaling acceptance of a situation they might not actually like. It demonstrates emotional restraint. Let's say you tell me I can't have a refund on a product because I lost the receipt. I might be annoyed, I might be frustrated. But if I say, okay, that's fair, I'm saying I accept the rules and I will stop arguing now.
So it's an admission of defeat?
Not defeat. Maturity. It's a soft closure. It signals that I'm reasonable enough to accept the outcome, even if it wasn't my first choice. It keeps the relationship intact. It says, I am not going to be a difficult person about this.
This theme of keeping the relationship intact seems to override the literal meaning of almost every phrase we're discussing. It seems the prime directive of spoken English is to avoid friction.
That is the core of English communication. The relationship often matters more than the raw data. We're social animals first and logicians second.
Let's test that theory with our next group of phrases, which revolve around managing tension and uncertainty. I want to talk about no worries.
A staple of modern English. You hear it in coffee shops, emails, crowded subways, everywhere.
Now, literal interpretation, do not have any worries. It functions like you're welcome, but it seems to be used even when there was nothing to worry about in the first place. It feels redundant.
But that's the beauty of it. No worries goes far beyond you're welcome. Your welcome is formal. It acknowledges a transaction. It creates a hierarchy. I did something for you and you thanked me. No worries is about removing guilt.
Guilt? That feels like a strong word for such a casual phrase.
It is strong, but think about the micro interactions of daily life. If you bump into me, or you're 5 minutes late, or you forget to attach a file to an email, you feel a tiny spike of social tension. You feel a little bad. You feel a kind of social debt. When I say no worries, I'm verbally wiping that slate clean. I'm saying you haven't caused me any pain, relax.
It reflects a very relaxed cultural attitude.
Exactly. It suggests emotional flexibility. It says, I don't take life's minor problems too seriously, and neither should you. It helps things move forward smoothly without that lingering awkwardness of an apology. It flattens the hierarchy between us.
Now, here is a word that I think causes more trouble than any other. It is deceptive because it looks like a compliment. The word is interesting.
Oh, interesting. The trap.
It shouldn't be a trap. It's a positive word. It means something inspires curiosity. It means I'm engaged. If I show you my work and you say, that's interesting, I should be happy.
You should be very careful. Interesting is the ultimate safe word for the emotionally guarded. Yes, it can mean curiosity, but in real conversations, especially in professional settings, interesting is often a polite way to express doubt, surprise, or even disagreement without being rude.
Okay, give me an example of how interesting equals disagreement.
If you propose a wild, risky new strategy for our company, and I look at it and I say, interesting. I'm not saying I love it. I'm likely saying, that is unexpected, I am skeptical, and I need time to process why I think this might not work.
It's the pause, isn't it? The
It is absolutely the pause. Listen to the difference. That's interesting. With energy and a smile, that's positive. Interesting is a warning sign. It allows the speaker to stay neutral. It's a way to witness something without endorsing it.
It feels deceptive. It allows you to hide your true opinion.
It's protective. It protects you from reacting too strongly before you've thought things through. It protects the other person's ego. Instead of saying, that is a bad idea, which is hurtful, I say, that's interesting. It buys time. It's simple vocabulary masking complex intention.
I suppose that leads us to I guess, as in, I guess so. To me, this just sounds like low confidence. It means I think so, but I'm not sure. It's a statement of probability.
It is low confidence, but it's used strategically. It is a signal of resignation. If we're deciding where to eat and you suggest a place I don't particularly like, but I don't want to fight about it, I'll say, I guess.
So it's agreement without enthusiasm.
Precisely. It signals, I'm going along with this, but I'm distancing myself from the decision. It protects the speaker from emotional exposure. If the restaurant is bad, I can later say, well, I only said I guess. I didn't fully commit.
That is a very subtle shift in responsibility. You are agreeing to the action, but rejecting the blame.
Which brings us to the ultimate phrase about responsibility. It's up to you.
Now, I firmly believe this is an empowering phrase. It gives autonomy. It removes pressure from the other person. If I say it's up to you, I am giving you a gift, the gift of choice.
That is a beautiful interpretation. And in a healthy, high-trust environment, like between a mentor and a student, you're right. But I have to show you the shadow side of this phrase.
The shadow side of choice?
The shadow side is abandonment. Sometimes it's up to you is a way of saying, I do not want to take responsibility for this decision.
I see. So if things go wrong, it's not my fault.
Exactly. Consider a personal relationship. If a partner asks, what should we do for our anniversary? And the other just says, it's up to you. That can feel isolating. It can imply disinterest.
It can feel like they're stepping back emotionally. It hides hesitation.
So context is the only way to know if it's up to you as a gift or a burden.
Context is everything. In a professional setting, it signals trust. I trust your judgment. In a tense personal moment, it might signal withdrawal. I don't want to do the work of deciding.
This brings us back to the central thesis of our discussion today. We've looked at all these simple phrases. Fine. We'll see. That makes sense. No worries. Interesting. It's up to you. They're all basic English. A beginner can read them.
But a beginner cannot always feel them. And that is the synthesis here. English often chooses simplicity not because it lacks depth, but because it values subtlety.
It seems that English speakers value empathy and connection over raw data. They'd rather be polite than precise.
I might phrase it a little differently. I would say they value social safety. These phrases are mechanisms to keep the social machinery running smoothly, without friction. No worries greases the wheels. That makes sense, builds a bridge. We'll see, softens a blow. It creates a space where we can interact without constantly crashing into each other.
So for our listeners, the learners who are trying to navigate this, what's the takeaway? Because this could feel overwhelming. It could feel like everyone is speaking in code and you're the only one without the key.
The takeaway is reassurance. You do not need to translate these words in your head like a computer. You need to stop looking at the dictionary definition and start looking at the human being in front of you. Start listening to the tone.
I agree. The advice isn't to memorize a new list of definitions. It is to observe. Notice when a colleague says, "That's interesting," with a pause. Notice when a friend says, "I'm fine," but looks away. Fluency is about emotional awareness. It's about realizing that "that's fair" is a signal of closure. It's about feeling the rhythm of the conversation. If you listen closely, the speaker usually tells you exactly how they feel, just not with the words they chose.
And I would encourage our listeners to try using them. The next time you want to soften a disagreement, try saying, "That makes sense," before you offer your counterpoint. See how it changes the energy in the room.
Or the next time someone apologizes for a small mistake, try a gentle "no words." Feel how it relaxes them. It's a small gift of grace you can give to someone else. It really is about connection. We hope this discussion has illuminated why these simple words are actually some of the most powerful tools in the English language. They are the glue that holds conversations together.
Simple English often means the most because it reflects how people really think and feel and protect one another. It's the language of being human.
We want to thank you for spending time with us and with Fluent Mindcast. We hope this served as a calm, supportive space for you to think about language in a new way.
English is not just about grammar books. It's about real life.
Indeed, there is always more to explore in the material, and we hope you continue to listen between the lines.
Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.